I sidestepped over, addressed him again, started shooting at him, and then he probably felt, I know I hit him, once or twice, and he turned to address me again. Never completely was able to aim. He was just pulling off rounds, and next thing I know, I feel one of the bullets go through my shoulder.
January 6, 2015 is a day that I'll never forget. I felt the most intense pain that I've ever felt in my life.
He walked in my office, he just tried to jam the lock, and he said, "I'm sorry, but I'm here to kill you today."
Shot me right in the face right here.
For 8 days, they kept me in a dungeon downstairs.
My heart stopped 8 times.
And he turns around and grabs my head and he slits my throat.
Hello again, this is Houston Gath, and I'm here today with my friend Chad Davis of the Hood County Sheriff's Office here in Texas. Chad, thank you for coming. Appreciate you, man. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Chad Davis. I've been a police officer going on 18 years now, all in here in Texas. I first worked for the Granbury Police Department, started in 2001, went to the academy, and worked with them until last year, March of 2017. I retired and went to work for the Hood County Sheriff's Office.
So during your career, you've seen a lot of things, you've done a lot of things. What's probably one of the most interesting things you've done, man?
Well, I guess you could say my bad day was a shooting I was involved in.
When was that, man?
That was June 28th of 2013, almost 5 years ago.
We're almost dead on the 5-year anniversary.
Pretty close.
What was the dynamic behind all of that? What started out?
Well, what started it was a guy was supposed to go to court that morning of the 28th. He was supposed to go to court for a sexual assault of a child. I believe it was a relative. He instead of going to court, he loaded up his guns and came to Hood County where the victim lived, and went out to her house and where her parents were and was harassing them, trying to talk to them about dropping charges, this or that. But of course, none of that was going to take place. When he arrived there, they called 911, and at that time, the sheriff's office responded to the scene.
Was this something that the parents of the victim or whatever, was this something that they felt like that they were in serious danger of their own personal bodily injury, death? How did that kind of go down?
I imagine they did feel, pretty afraid that the dad of that girl, I believe, he was prepared. He had weapons and was prepared, to my understanding. So, they just wanted us to. They did the right thing by calling us, Absolutely. Calling the law. Absolutely.
So what transpired during that time, during that call?
Out there, never was on scene, never. But from what I understood, Deputy Sergeant Lance McLean responded to the call. Upon his arrival, he made contact with the suspect. Everything was calm at that time, I guess, right at the beginning. And when he went to talk to the victim and the people who lived there, as soon as he went to walk away, the suspect pulled out a pistol and fatally shot him.
Where did he shoot him at?
I believe in the back of the head.
So he took the coward's way out.
Yeah.
He couldn't face somebody man to man and do that, could he?
No,
Not face to face.
Nope, he did it when he was walking away.
So where were you at whenever all this transpired? I
was just on regular patrol in the city, just doing my regular thing. We got a call of, it came across one of the radios. I don't believe I heard it, but it was on our board too, that an officer was down. Of course, you don't really know what to expect there. It could be numerous things when you hear officer down. I mean, we all started, several of us city officers started getting prepared, Several of them went actually out to the scene out there to try to see what they could do. I hadn't heard that there were shots fired at that time myself. It wasn't announced over the radio or anything like that at that time.
So as far as you know, maybe this guy had a heart attack or maybe had a small wreck or something.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know any of the details or anything like that at that time. So we just knew there was an officer down and everybody was responding. So I started to head in that direction, but I didn't go all the way out because I think all the other units, except for maybe one, was heading out there. So I was kind of staying in the city, making sure there wasn't, we had coverage in the city. So I was kind of one of the few that were back.
Well, you got to kind of look at your own municipality and, that is your priority. So, I mean, you were taking care of your priorities. So what happened next?
Well, we've got word that the suspect was leaving in I believe a white van is what they put out or whatever. And so I was
Typical child molester, man.
Yeah. I was waiting out there, kind of towards the north side of town there. And next thing I know, he drives right in front of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about either the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time. I don't know how you describe that.
Yeah, there was a few others that were en route to go assist also that ended up getting behind me. So we had of course I got behind him and tried to initiate a stop. He wouldn't stop. He just kept going. He didn't speed off. It was a pursuit, but it was a slow speed. He was just going the speed limit or under, about 40 miles an hour. In the end, now I definitely know he was. I don't know what was going through his mind, of course. But he, after what happened in the end, he had some ill intentions.
What actually stops the pursuit?
He did. We was approaching the town square, and the city hall is on the block of the town squares. But
so he's looking for an audience.
Yeah, it definitely appeared that way because we get up there, and I asked about 30 seconds before he stops. I got on the radio and asked dispatch, was there shots fired out on the scene? Because nobody had really confirmed. I thought somebody had said that he had a bullet hole in his van, which I think turned out to be when he went to the homeowner. The victim saw him shoot the deputy and started shooting at him with a rifle when he was leaving. So I think that's where it came in, that there was holes in his van. But so I asked, and right after I asked, it was within, less than maybe 30 seconds. He pulls into the city hall parking lot, just slams on his brakes, and, gets out with a AR-15. At the time, I knew that something wasn't right. I wouldn't, normally you would prepare to make a felony stop, get out. I would be on the mic because I was the one right behind him, and I had another police officer, PD officer behind me, and then a state trooper was behind him, and the sheriff, and he had a couple of his investigators who were just plain clothes guys end up pulling up around me because they had a brick wall there. There was actually a restaurant on the square just got built, at the patio foyer area, and right when the perp pulled up there, because when I got out to address him, there was 3 civilians standing right in my line with him. The owner of that restaurant and 2 of his either workers or whatever, 2 of his construction people were sitting there talking about the new addition to what was going on there. So that made it hard to be able to fire, do anything, with them behind him. So he gets out, and he ended up having an AR with 100 round. I think he had 200 round drums. He
was intent on murdering a lot of
people. Had an AK-47. I don't know how many rounds he had to that in there, and then of course the pistol he was armed with. And he got out and he shot at me. I had to kind of retreat at that time because I couldn't shoot back at him with those guys there until those civilians got out of the way. But luckily the other officers I had with me helped suppress, and then I was able to get back in once I was able to, he was able to suppress him from just coming and just taking me out, and then got back into the fight. He was shooting at the sheriff, and because they were shooting at him, and he probably sensed he probably got hit a couple times or something, and then realized they were shooting at him. So that allowed me to go back and address him. So I did. I sidestepped over, addressed him again, started shooting at him, and then he probably felt, I know I hit him, once or twice, and he turned to address me again. Never completely was able to aim. He was just pulling off rounds, and next thing I know, I feel one of the bullets go through my shoulder. Well, it all happened so fast. I couldn't. If it would have lasted any longer, I would have had to switch hands because it went right through my humerus and shattered it in half. So I lost my arm. My arm was just dangling, and so I got out of the way. I knew there was several guys there that could fight, and really it didn't last but 3 seconds after I got hit, it was over. Once I drew his attention away, the sheriff.
But that was a long 3 seconds.
Oh yeah, it was a long 3 seconds. There was 120 some odd rounds fired, and in 19 seconds is all it lasted.
You go through the loss of your brother. You get injured. How has this affected you in your daily life, in your career?
Well, it's something you never forget about. Not a day. I lost some use of my arm. Nerve damage is what's caused me to not be able to use my arm the way I could. I can still shoot and do a lot of things, but there's a lot of things I can't do. I found out a day and a half later I'd also been hit in the knee. I didn't know about that. It took a ricochet. You can see it on the video. A bullet hits when he walked him up into me is pretty much what he did. It probably hit first, but when this one hit, it took, the pain was overwhelmed my knee.
Kind of canceled it out.
Yeah, so I had a fragment in my knee, went up underneath my knee and stuck in my femur, and so I ended up having to have numerous surgeries on that. But it's something you don't forget, overlook. I'm going back. I returned to duty, and so but it's something you'll never forget. That's for sure. It's one thing from your training that we're taught is I knew I got hit, of course, because I felt the lunge, and I looked down and saw the blood start pouring out my arm. But I just thought, I think I told myself that, maybe with some choice words that I'd been hit, and
I could imagine.
And as I'm walking out of the way, I just reached up, got on the radio, and told dispatch I needed an ambulance because I'd been hit. But it's I never thought I was going to die. It never crossed my mind. It's kind of something you think about that, if you ever get shot, the chances, there's a chance you could die. But it never crossed my mind. That bullet could have hit, ricochet, went on and through my heart, and I was, minutes away from death. But I never once thought that. And I thought that was probably the training, the mentality that we're taught, to have. So even if you are, you might not know it, but you want to keep that positive attitude within your mind and within your body to drive on, And so that never crossed my mind, and I was just waiting for help. I wanted that ambulance, wanted some medication.
The way we think a lot of times, man, this happens in big cities, and Granbury, Texas isn't a big city.
No, we're rather small, about 8,000 or 9,000 people in the city limits. There's quite a bit more in the county, but yeah, we hear it all the time in Fort Worth and Dallas, but not too terribly often in Granbury.
Yeah, it's just a quiet little Mayberry kind of town where not a whole lot happens, but I know one thing, those citizens are sure thankful that you guys are there.
Oh yeah, I got tremendous support from the citizens. It was overwhelming. My chief and the city, they really did. They supported me well throughout all my surgeries and everything. And
how'd the workers' comp system work for you?
It was what it was. But they worked it out. The city worked it out to where I didn't have to worry about, made up the difference. So where I could still receive regular checks and keep contributing to vacation and retirement and everything. So, of course, I was able to return back to work that was June. I was back to work in October. So
Back to full duty.
no, it was just light duty.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still having surgeries and stuff, but they let me come work, out of the office just so I could work and not have to worry about using sick time and different stuff like that. So
How long was it before you returned to full duty?
it was over a year and a half later that I finally got everything taken care of and went back to full duty. A lot of physical therapy.
You're so lucky to have not been, lost your arm, completely lost your arm, or more importantly, lost your life. Because I know you've got a wife and children at the time, and you had to think about that. If you've got anything to say to these guys out here, officers at any stage, whether they're rookie or 30-year veterans, what would you say to them?
Yeah, just keeping the faith. Keeping the faith in definitely in God, because it wasn't, it's ironic, but it wasn't. I was baptized 3 months before the shooting. I got baptized March 3rd, 2013, and then turns out 3 months later here I'm involved in something like that, which
There's never a coincidence.
Yeah, so I think that was a calling. I'd always believed in God, but I'd got a regular church I was going to and decided to get baptized, and that happened. And I think that was definitely like you said, wasn't a coincidence. And just keeping that mentality of I got this, and keeping that positive attitude is, I think, is you're gonna live. You have been shot, but you're gonna live.
We hear stories all the time just like this, and it's sad that we have to continue to hear these stories. But I'm glad we get to hear these stories, because that means these guys survived. If you know somebody that has gone through exactly what Chad has gone through or something similar, tag that person, share this video, and hit the like button so they know exactly what to expect. And if you know an officer that's just coming in, please get them to watch these videos. These are important videos. This will teach these guys how to survive. I know in my career, being able to listen to stories such as Chad's greatly affected me. It greatly affected the ability for me to survive in any given situation. And I did prove to survive on one fateful day. Guys, please hit like and share this video. This is important stuff. We don't ever need to forget, and we don't ever need to forget our injured officers. Chad, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Houston.
Love you, my buddy.
Appreciate it.